In a world where left is up and right is apparently wrong, do souls make sense of it all? Or at least have fun trying? Gear up, friends, for Chicken and the Dog. Welcome to another episode of Chicken and the Dog. I am the dog, and with me, as always, is the guy that is overly sensitive when it comes to Swift and Kelce, the chicken. What up, dog?
Yeah, I'm so torn up about that. Actually, I'm really not. I'm optimistic about this union. I'm so very psyched, and I probably feel more excited about this than any Swiftie out there. And let me tell you why. I am sincerely hoping that Kelce is one of just the best romantic opportunities that Swift has ever had. So much so that it knocks him off his game and thereby knocks the Chiefs out of the discussion. Dear God, I'm tired of Kansas City.
Yeah. Uh, there you have it. This is why he's overly sensitive.
But I
about
digress.
Yeah. Look, man, this is week 3 of the forecast show. Exciting. The schedules are getting great. There's some more and more games that are relevant that are going to be fun to watch. It's not one or two. So for the people that don't have the split screen or multiple TVs in one room, you're going to have to flip back and forth. I'm very fortunate. I have YouTube TV, which is awesome. And I could put 4 games up on the screen at one time. And it's great. But it's fun, guys. I'm so ready for great football weekend. But before we start talking about those games, man, let's talk about the dog park. And what I love about the dog park, and most of the time when we talk about, when I bring up these dog bites, these comments, most of them are from TikTok videos or YouTube shorts or our full podcast that has just recently dropped. That's what almost everyone I've ever done has come off of recent material until today. Apparently, the Billy Napier, whether or not he's going to have a job or not job, algorithm in one of our shorts has come alive. And I know it's kind of shocking. And so on our Florida forecast show, I make sure I was saying it right. I was starting to get tongue tied. Our Florida forecast show that we done, I'm going to say early August, late July, sometime. We have some recent comments, and it was on the short, the TikTok reel, where you and I were discussing whether or not Billy Napier is going to be good. You know, was it a fluke last year that he came on? Is DJ Lagway going to be his, in a sense, savior of his job? I think we were on there talking about, we were hoping that Florida would stick with Napier because we think he's a good coach. Well, I've had 2 recent comments since the loss of South Florida. And, well, I say they're comments. They're not really even comments. They are so disgusted, these Florida fans, they've lost their voice. They've lost their words.
Wow.
It is just emojis or GIFs or GIFs, whatever the heck you call them. And both of them are centered around a picture of Billy Napier. One, he's smiling with a clown wig on. And the next one, Billy Napier is sad wearing a clown costume. So, in other words, Lord Sarcastro is his name.
Okay.
Yeah, oh Lord.
We're going to call you Lord of the Rings.
Look, I like it. He's the one that sent the one in some creepy costume with his face held down. And then Chad looks like he had, it looks like he took a picture from the SEC media days or something with Napier, and he painted a clown wig on him. So these guys have come back and turned on their old faithful coach. That a lot of the comments on there that when we recorded that were all about, we think he's going to do great. He's the right coach. How fast things change.
So, Lord of the Rings and Hanging Chad, I will tell you about a picture that I saw, and it wasn't a meme, it wasn't a GIF, it was probably a tweet or something from, roughly 5-6 years ago, when the South Carolina Gamecocks announced that they were hiring Shane Beamer. And in the stable of available coaches or potentially available coaches at that time, there was one Billy Napier who was ready or thought he was to make the jump into a Power 5 conference. And the comment was made that there must be something wrong at the University of South Carolina for them to hire Shane Beamer with no head coaching experience when there were so many other coaches such as Billy Napier available. How's it looking now, big guy? How's 2025 treating you?
Yeah. Look, man, the ripple effects from that South Florida game is pretty strong. And I think we'll know who Florida is in the next couple of weeks. Look, man, South Florida's playing good football. So let's not take anything away from that team. Should have Florida won that game? Absolutely. But, or at least it's never a good look when an SEC school drops to, I think, the American Conference, I believe. It's not a good look. However, it does happen, and it tends to happen to Florida quite a bit. What was it, a couple of years ago? They lost to Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern beat Florida, and I think there was even a point where two Florida players were blocking each other. Not a good look.
Not a good look. And that would lead me to my next comment, which is there's an identity crisis in the Gator locker room. Everybody wants to point the finger at the coach. And ultimately, we all know this, that's where the absolute responsibility lies in setting the culture, setting the standards, setting the identity of your program. But you also need leaders that are on that team. I've said it a million times on this show. A coach is never going to take a snap. A coach is never going to make a tackle. A coach is never going to catch a pass. Like that's not going to happen. The coach is going to try and lead his team into battle and tell them what they need to do here, there, and everywhere, both on and off the field. But if you have a lack of leadership on your roster, and I'm not saying that the Gators do, I'm just saying if it looks like a duck, it might be a gator. You got to take charge of that in the locker room. You've got to have some of these leaders on your roster step up and say, hey, this is what we've got. We're the Florida Gators, and we've got to man up and do something about this.
Maybe they need Tim Tebow to come give some kind of great speech right before the next game.
Listen, what happened when Tim Tebow, a great leader, stepped up in front of a microphone and the nation and said, we won't lose again? Answer, they didn't. So take that for what it's worth, Gator fan. Do I think that the seat is warm under Billy's bum? I do. Do I think that he can outlive this heat wave? I do. I still think he's a good coach.
I do too.
I don't know the way that all this is hashing out. It kind of comes back to what we've said before about Florida. I don't know that he's the right coach for Florida, but Florida fan, don't be so quick to point all the transgressions at Billy and say, well, it's all because of him. I mean, he's not blocking himself and among other things. He's not spitting in other players' faces. That's
not
on
a good
the
look.
player down there. Not a good look.
No. Like you said, as we were recording this today, it may not go up for another day or two, but nothing has been said about him losing his job. He has not lost his job yet. I would imagine that the AD, all the boosters, everybody that's in charge of making those decisions are probably going to give him at least a couple more games. Let's get into conference play and let's see how he does. And if it still continues to spiral south, then I would say by midseason he's gone. All right, so a couple of other things to talk about that are not SEC related. Right now, the Mountain West is suing, or the Pac-12 is suing the Mountain West over the fees that need to be paid by the Pac-12 and the schools that are jumping ship. There's 5 schools that are jumping ship right now from the Mountain West and going to the Pac-2 to join the Oregon State and Washington State. And those schools are Colorado State, Utah State, San Diego State, Fresno State, and Boise State. And I think Texas State is joining them as well, but they are not in the Mountain West. These are just schools from the Mountain West, 5 schools from the Mountain West. And each fine carries at least $10 million per school to jump ship. That's in their clause. And the Pac-12 are fighting this, trying to get out of having to pay all these millions upon millions of dollars.
You ever watch the old Rocky movies where
Love them.
The standard is that Rocky's in a fight. He's in the fight of his life. He's trying to go about it, this new strategy that they had developed through the Eye of the Tiger or whatever other theme song they were playing at the time. And Rock has to go back to his old ways of just getting beat silly because he can take all the blows and then just through stamina and sheer will outlast his opponent, and then with a surge of power come to victory. I think, and this analogy will stop short, so spoiler alert, I think that the Pac-12 minus 10 finds themselves in that Rocky role where they're just thinking that they can take the blows, they can outlast their opponent, and that somehow they're going to rise to victory. I called you the Pac-12 minus 10 because I think you need to be reminded that there are only 2 of you. And so you don't even have anybody in the corner to say, throw in the towel. Like,
no,
you're just getting beat right now. And you've got to realize that what I would like to see is the Pac. I'm just going to call you the Pac. I won't keep lying to you. I love football too much. I think that they need to come to a realization and say, listen, maybe instead of this being about us, we work with the Mountain West, or we work with whomever, and we'll just form a new conference altogether. And we'll just call it the Pacific States or the Western States Conference, whatever you want to call it, the big states. House Day Obama, House Day Newsom. I don't care what you call yourselves, but the Pac-12 is dead. We've all buried it. It's time for you to move on.
Yeah, I mean, look, even if they are to be successful, it doesn't matter, whatever. But this is what the Pac-12, I'll still say it because that's what they're calling themselves. I do believe that they have identity crisis, that seems to be a trend these days, but I digress on that. But I do think that they need to come to the realization that they are no longer going to be a Power 5 conference. Every one of their legitimate schools, their true Power 5 schools that was in there, are gone. They're all gone. UCLA, the Fighting Prophylactics, Oregon, Washington, they all jumped ship, man. So you're a group of 5. That's it. So I like the idea of joining with the Mountain West and creating it and just saying, look, man, there's 9 conferences now. There's no longer 10.
All the popular kids left your lunch table. It's time to find new friends. It's not time to sit there and wait for someone else to come and join you because you think you're cool. You're not. The message was sent. Whether or not you choose to receive it is a different story. But right now, you're by yourself in the corner, pal.
Yeah, and look, the chicken and the dog will not charge you very much to help negotiate things between the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. We could probably have this thing done in about a day. Everybody will walk away happy. Our fee won't be that large. You're going to have to pay somewhere around $80 million to make that happen. We'll save you at least half of that. And and it's a win-win. So, chicken the dog at gmail at gmail.com.
Yeah,
We're available.
This should be a short putt. Don't break out the driver.
Yeah. The next thing I want to talk about is I read something on CBS Sports that the transfer portal committee, the NCAA part of the transfer portal, they are looking at changing it up, which I think most college fans, not players, not coaches, but fans will agree that's a good thing. But they're still half retarded doing it. They are wanting to get rid of it opening up in December, or actually they're wanting to get rid of having two opening portals anyway. So get rid of the spring one altogether. Get rid of it opening up in December, but they want to do it like the first or second week in January, and the playoffs are still going on, and they only want to do it for 10 days. I like the 10-day. I like the one window. I think you need to do it right after the season's over.
Yeah. I'm just caught with fewer words because I don't understand how, in my mind, a topic that should be so simple, they just always find a way to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
They always find a way to mess it up. If your car needs an oil change, you don't dump paint in it, right? Like that's not the answer. It's a liquid, yes, but it's not the right one. Why? Why would you have the transfer portal window? And I'm with you. I agree with the smaller window. I agree with there being one window. But why would you make it in the most crucial part of the season to where you continue to delegitimize bowl season? And now you've taken away the legitimacy for a lot of these schools in the playoffs. You've got the guy that's third or fourth deep in your running back room who gets carries and who is probably, in terms of your running backs coach and in terms of your offensive coordinator, an integral part of your offensive attack. But he thinks that he could be RB2 or RB1 at another school. So he announces to go into the portal. Well, now your attack is one man down in the playoffs, because once you say you're in the portal, you ain't playing, pal.
No.
So why? I don't understand why that aspect is so difficult for these committee members to go, maybe we should consider this part, guys. Instead of just like, it's just like these automatic brain dead decisions. You want fries with that? Uh-huh. Like that's all they're doing.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. And that actually happened to a school last year. Your reigning national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes, had a I'm going to say, and I hope I'm not wrong by saying this, but I think it was their backup quarterback. Their backup quarterback last year, I don't believe was Julian Sand, even though he was there. But I think everybody believed that Julian Sand's going to be the job going into the 2025 season. It was his to lose. So this guy, when it opened up in December, the transfer portal, he bounced. So Ohio State, thank God Will Howard stayed healthy and was able to continue to play. And then you didn't have to throw a true freshman into the mix, if something would have happened to him. But that could have very well happened. I mean, this is a dangerous sport. People get hurt all the time. Quarterbacks get leveled all the time, especially when in the playoffs, when you're having 12, I'm going to use that word loosely. I'm going to use this word loosely, of the best teams, because I don't think it was the 12 best teams playing, but surely it's pretty close to the 12 best teams are fighting each other. They're playing each other. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be almost smack you in the mouth defenses being played. And so it could have really affected Ohio State's chance of getting to the national championship. If you're telling me, I mean, I guess we'll never know, but hypothetically, if Will Howard would have went down against Texas, even though they may have pulled out a victory against Texas, Notre Dame would be your national champions. In my opinion, I think Riley Leonard and Marcus Freeman and that crew would have been able to beat a team that was down a Will Howard.
Yeah, and all I'm trying to get at here, and I think that you just echo that, is you've got to protect the integrity of the sport, the integrity of the ability for these guys to transfer, and the integrity of the playoffs and the bowl games. You got to protect all of that. And I think the easiest way to do it, again, a short putt, don't take out your driver. The easiest way to do that is to say, as soon as the national championship game is over, the portal window opens. It's open for 10 days. Good number, guys. I'm happy for you. But it's open for 10 days. Don't think that these players aren't already thinking about it anyway. It's not like after the game is over, final whistle blows and they say, do I have much to consider? They've already thought about it. They've already been having meetings with coaches and, whatever. Am I going to be the guy next year? No, that kid Julian's going to be the guy. You can be where you are still, but you're not going to be they've already had these discussions. You just don't get to announce until after the game. And then your 10 days open up. And it's the Wild West. It's agent offers coming left and right. And do you want to go to this school, that school? Let me take a visit, blah, blah, blah. Boom, you're done. And the dust settles. And we go into the off season, and then we go into spring practice, and so on and so forth. But yes, protect the integrity.
Yeah, speaking of the spring practice, that's the one thing that I've always hated about the spring portal is, let's say if there is a true quarterback battle out of program, right? And it really is. It's look, man, you got three guys. Coaches don't know who they're going to go with. They have an idea, but they're not sure. And so they battle. Well, when they they don't ever, usually not normally, ever announce who's QB1 right after spring ball. They don't come out and say it because they leave us all hanging. But I think the locker room knows who's QB1. And that QB2 or that QB3, they have an opportunity to bounce. And I just don't like that. It's too open. It's too, like you say, the Wild Wild West. Let's shorten that Wild Wild West to 10 days. I love that. And, you and I talk about fixing NIL, fixing college football, saving college football. You've already opened up the floodgates to money. It's so these players are going to get paid. That's never going to change. But you can fix a lot of this by fixing the portal and tweaking the portal like they're doing. I like the direction that they're headed. I just think that they need to do it after the playoffs or after the national championships. And I'll also say this. It could be fluid, all right, because as it stands right now, we're at a 12-team playoff, but we know that's probably going to change after this season. This is the last season of 12-team. It's probably going to go to 16. So that could carry college football a little bit further, right? So it just has to be stated. It's 10 days after the national championship, or you could just say the first week in February, 10 days in there, whatever. But I think that's your window and leave it alone.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, guys, let's talk about the upcoming games that are happening this week. And before we get into the SEC games, let's talk about a few games. And I can only really find two relevant games to talk about that are in the top 25 that are non-SEC. And the first one is number 12 Clemson goes to ATL, to Bobby Dodd Stadium, to take on the Fighting Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. I think they sting people. And Clemson is favored to win that game by 3.5 points. Over and under is 54.5. This game could be this could be a trap game for Clemson. There's no doubt about it. Georgia Tech is 2-0. Clemson is 1-1.
What I'm seeing right now on the matchup predictor, based on the ESPN analytics, is they're actually picking Georgia by a thin margin, picking Georgia Tech to win this game. They've got them at 55.9% win percentage over a projected 44.1 for Clemson. You mentioned the Yellow Jacket and that you think that it stings. Let me tell you something about a Yellow Jacket. You disrupt their hive, their nest, and not only do they have a nasty little sting, but those little jokers will sting you over and over and over again, and then they swarm. I think that you could see that pretty quickly in Atlanta on Saturday. One of the things that jumped as I started looking at this game, one of the things that kind of jumped out at me as a potential pitfall for Clemson. We know about the Yellow Jackets' two-headed quarterback monster in Haynes King and Philo. Philo's got the arm. He's 21-28 with a touchdown and an interception. King's got the legs. He's going to run all over you, and you know it's coming. If you look at Clemson's leading tackler right now, it is Hannafin, who is a safety. He leads the team with 18 tackles right now in 2 games. That's not good, folks. If you're Clemson, I understand that you played LSU in game 1. You played Troy in game 2, and your safety is still your leading tackler, not a linebacker, not a down lineman, a safety. Those guys come up and run support. The leading tackler for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, your linebacker, Effort. He's got 9 tackles, leading the team.
Yeah.
That guy's there for pass rush. That guy's there for covering the flat during a drop back coverage. That guy's there for busting up the run. There's a hole in Clemson's defense right now that the two-sided attack from Georgia Tech could easily be a problem for.
Yeah, for sure. Remember, this is about the same offense. They didn't lose much, man, that took Georgia to 8 overtimes last year. This triple option that they play, man, it is hard to defend. And like you said, when your safety is your leading tackler, that is not a good look, man. That does not play well against a triple option style offense. And Georgia Tech does it better than anyone. And I like Georgia Tech in this game. I think they beat Clemson and potentially kill Clemson's playoff hopes.
I think that they do that, and I think that. And listen, the worst news for Clemson right now, if I can project a little bit, is that Oklahoma's off to a great start. Because if Venables was not off to a good start in Norman this year, then at least Clemson will be able to say our defense is the problem, but we're going to bring Brent back next season and we'll get back on championship track. It's not looking good in Tiger Town.
No, it is not. I mean, look, who do I want to win in that game? I like to see Clemson win that game. I'm going to pull for Clemson to win this game. Being realistic, I think Georgia Tech has the upper hand. I just do.
I completely agree.
The next game I want to talk about that I think that could be pretty interesting, and I would have never thought we needed to talk about this game, that this game would be something that we should talk about. But a number 18, South Florida, goes down to Miami and take on number 5, Miami Hurricanes. And look, Miami's favored to win that game, 17.5 points, 56.5 points is the over and under. I like Miami in this game, but watch out. I think South Florida is a good ball team.
I think that South Florida is now, I don't think this, it's fact. They're now going into their 3rd consecutive week of being the underdog. Well, what'd they do with the first 2 opportunities? They upset Boise State. They upset the Florida Gators, and the tour continues for the South Florida Bulls. You win again this week, you can't get 2 consecutive Gooch Awards, guys. So
No.
now you are on the precipice of earning a Dawg of the week. Miami right now is a 72% favorite to win this game. Nobody's really picking South Florida. I think that's a mistake. Do I think South Florida is going to win this game? I do struggle with that. Miami has definitely looked sharper than Florida this year. Carson Beck is off to a good start in his I really want to be drafted high campaign. I think that Miami's got a lot going for themselves that lend it to the next level, not only guys trying to go to the NFL, but becoming a playoff team. I think that's Miami's charge this year. I think they're heading after that real well. I don't think that South Florida is going to be good enough to derail that. However, 17, I think that this ends up being a much closer game than that.
Yeah, I would definitely pick South Florida and the points. I don't think, at least the way it stands right now, I don't see them beating South Florida by 2.5 touchdowns. It's not happening. I don't think so. All right, so let's talk about the SEC schedule. Look, man, we've got some meat in these games this week, man. And this is, like I said earlier, man, it's going to be a fun weekend to watch college football, no doubt. So let's start with number 13, Oklahoma, goes to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to take on Temple. Oklahoma's 22.5 points, favored to win that game. Over and under is 52.5. I think Napier has another great game. Venables will be 3-0 after this game.
Yeah, I think this is a no-brainer. Napier is off to a hot start there in Norman. I think that continues, and they come out 3-0.
Then look, a 2-0 Wisconsin rolls down to Tuscaloosa to take on a number 19 Alabama. Alabama is favored to win that game 21.5. Over and under is 46.5. Look, man, I think Alabama will win this game. I do. But I wouldn't count out Wisconsin yet. If you had asked me about this game, before the season started, I would have said, man, Alabama is going to destroy Wisconsin. But I don't know, man. Now Wisconsin hasn't played anyone yet. They played Miami of Ohio, beat them 17-0, and then Middle Tennessee State, they beat them 42-10. So they haven't faced anyone yet. However, Alabama's looked a little shaky at times. Yes, they had a good bounce back win last week, but I don't know, man. It could be a close game.
We watched this game last year, and Alabama, under Jalen Milroe, beat the brakes off the Badgers.
They did.
I think that you're looking at a similar issue this year. I don't think it's going to be a close game. I think that Alabama has to win this game for Kalen DeBoer. I think that Alabama has to win this game convincingly for Kalen DeBoer. Do I think that they're going to blow them out like they did Louisiana Monroe last week? No. But I do think that it's going to be an Alabama win. It's going to be that kind of victory where you say, oh, okay. They tripped up against Florida State, but at least they're back. They're back to being Alabama. And let's try and right the ship. I think that not only did you have a get-right game last week against Louisiana Monroe, I think that Alabama is looking at this, a legitimate team from a legitimate conference, as being another get-right game. And let's get the gears moving the way that they should.
So do you think it's a 3-touchdown game?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Wow. I think Alabama will win. I just don't know if it'll be by 3 touchdowns. The 1-1 South Alabama goes down to the Plains and takes on a number 24 2-0 Auburn, and Auburn's favored to win that game 25.5 points. Over and under 55.5. Auburn has their way. There's no doubt.
Yeah, a long day for the Jaguars on the Plains. the Hugh Freeze and the Tigers come out on top.
Louisiana, a 1-1 Louisiana Cajuns take a trip to Columbia, Missouri. We're going to call that Columbia Part 2. Take on number 25 Missouri. They are 2-0. Mizzou is favored to win that game by 27.5 points. Over and under 47.5. Mizzou they'll run roughshod on these guys.
Yeah, I agree. Missouri's off to a good start. I think that they're going to have their way.
A 1-1 UTEP. If you don't know what UTEP means, it's University of Texas El Paso, home of great tacos. Just saying.
And salsa.
And just great food in general. Anyway, they roll into Austin, Texas to take on a number 7, 1-1 Texas. And this is the second warm-up game for Arch Manning to recover from what happened in week 1. Texas favored to win that game 41.5 points, over and under 51.5. I'm going to say that's going to be about right. I think Texas just waxes them.
Yeah, I think the game last week for Arch and the Longhorns was a get-right game. I think that this is a get-rhythm game as they head into conference play. I like Texas in this one by a lot.
So Alcorn State, an 0-2 Alcorn State, takes on a 2-0 Mississippi State. No spread because there doesn't need to be one. Mississippi State goes 3-0 to start out your 2025 season.
I believe that this game presents them with the opportunity to be, hey, we're better than last year. This is your we're better than last year game. I like the Bulldogs in Starkville.
Here we go. Ooh, this game right here. God, this is one. So a 2-0 Fighting Pittmans, the Arkansas Razorbacks, go to Oxford, Mississippi, the Grove, the place where fine dining and chandeliers hang, take on number 17, Ole Miss, who is also 2-0, 1-0 in the SEC. Ole Miss is favored to win that game by 6.5 points. The over and under is 61.5. They're looking at it being high scoring. I say it's high scoring, and I don't know who wins this game.
Here again, the matchup predictor has Ole Miss 73.7% to win this game. Arkansas 26.3% to win this game. I think that this comes down to a battle of quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Taylor Green, and we've been saying this since last year, even though we've had our doubters, Taylor Green is a dark horse Heisman candidate. He's doing it quietly right now in Arkansas. You still don't have a whole lot of attention being paid to him. Taylor, when you get that, I want you to know that Chicken and the Dog brought it to you first. You can thank us when you hoist the trophy, maybe next year. But I think he's a better quarterback than Simmons is right now. He's got experience. Simmons is getting experience. Taylor Green right now, 561 yards on the year. Austin Simmons, 576. However, my friends, Taylor Green, 41 of 57, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Austin Simmons, 33 of 55, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I think that this comes down to a difference of quarterback. If Green can stay healthy and the Razorbacks can stay consistent doing what they do, all things being equal, I like the Razorbacks in this one.
I'm actually going to surprise you and say I like the Fighting Pittmans as well. And I think you make a good point when it comes to the quarterbacks. And so it's going to be a quarterback battle, back and forth, blah, blah, blah. But what is Sam Pittman? He's a defensive guy. And I think that that's going to be the difference maker in this game And Arkansas is going to find at least one or two drives to be able to stop an Austin Simmons because of their defense, because of Sam Pittman, and that will be the difference maker. And I think Arkansas wins this game and jumps in the discussion. Then Green jumps in the discussion for Heisman, and Arkansas jumps into the top 25.
Yep, completely agree.
Ooh, this next game, good gracious. This could be the saving or the nail. A 1-1 Florida, the Fighting Flobies, has to go to Baton Rouge to take on a 2-0 number 3 LSU. LSU is favored to win that game by 7.5 points. The over and under is 48.5. I say LSU has a great game and waxes Florida.
I want so badly to be able to tell you that you're wrong. I want so badly for the Gator Nation to be able to sit here today and tell you that I think that Florida's got a chance to upset the LSU Tigers. Do I think that they have a chance to play much better than they have? I do. It's a 7:30 kick in Baton Rouge. You're going up against Garrett Nussmeier. My friends, they don't like to lose at night.
No.
In Death Valley, which we now know is the Death Valley.
That's right.
They proved that a few weeks ago. I think that LSU is too much for Florida. If this Florida team, and again, we talked about finding some motivation there at your leaders. If this Florida team comes out and plays their absolute best, I still think they're 10 to 14 points less than LSU. LSU is just built different this year. They're certainly built different and better than the Florida Gators. But I don't think this is a nail game for Billy Napier. I think there's got to be some recognition of it's LSU. Like let's cut the dude some slack. It's not like you're going up against Kentucky or even Arkansas that we just talked about. You're going up against LSU, who a lot of people have picked to be a front runner to take the SEC this year. So I think there's some slack given there. Does it put more logs on the fire for the boosters that are all ready to get rid of them? Sure it does. But I don't think this is the game that shuts down Napier's time there in Gainesville. But, do your best and you might win by close.
You know, I would agree with that statement, but I'm going to throw a caveat in there. If LSU wins, man, by 35, 40 points, and it's an absolute embarrassment to Florida, then that could be the nail. That could be, they could say, all right, we're done.
Yeah.
There's no way.
I agree with that.
But if Florida hangs in there, and let's say they lose by 7, I almost said 7.5, but we know that that's mathematically impossible.
Maybe if there's another spitting incident, they'll deduct
maybe
a half a point.
It's possible. But if Florida hangs in there, man, and keeps it a game, and I think, in all honesty, I think they have the ability to do that. I really do. And if they can, then I think old Billy's seat stays the same temperature. If they win, I think it cools off by 10 degrees. I don't think it gets cold. I think it cools off a little bit.
Yeah, what I think right now is, and we're kind of seeing the same Jekyll and Hyde story play out that we saw last year with Florida. We were anticipating that Napier was going to be gone halfway through the season. He wasn't. He made it through, and they ended up having a pretty good year. We're seeing a similar start for the Gators this year. I don't know which one that is. I don't know if that's Jekyll or that's Hyde, but either way, it's an identity crisis. I think that the boosters, the people who really make the decisions, I think their mind is made up. I think it's just that when does that eventuality play out? Is it a decision that gets made mid-year? Is it a decision that gets made at the end of the year? Is it a decision where they say, you know what, fine, we'll let this guy ride out his contract, but then we're done? I think the hands have been washed. The die have been cast. Napier's time has an expiration date in Gainesville.
The next game, wow, got another just fantastic game. Number 16, 2-0, Texas A&M, the Screaming Aggies, go to Indiana and play a number 8, 0-1 Notre Dame. And the spread is Notre Dame's favorite to win that game by 6.5 points. The over under is 49.5. I'm going to be honest with you. I like the Aggies in this.
I do too. I think that this is a great opportunity for an upset to where I personally wouldn't consider it an upset. You're going to win against the numbers essentially. For me, common sense says the Aggies have more experience on the field this year. The Fighting Irish don't yet. CJ Carr is still your starting quarterback and should be at Notre Dame, but he's a freshman going up against Marcel Reed, an established quarterback. He's got 509 yards through the air this year. He's got 105 yards on the ground in 18 carries this year and a touchdown, by the way. I think the Aggies are going to be more than Notre Dame can handle. I know it's in South Bend, but we've seen SEC teams go up there before and handle that environment. I like the Aggies in this one. Go ahead and get your screaming practice in, Bob. I think you guys are going to have a great afternoon.
Yeah, Bob, get ready. And look, I'll also say this because I think you made a good point. And I don't think you took it as far as I would have. But Notre Dame is 0-1. They've played one game. They had a bye last week. Remember, week 1, they played Miami and lost to Miami. It was a good game, but it was a loss. But you got to remember, in week 1, everybody was working the cobwebs out, right? Everybody was cleaning the cobwebs. Week 2, you clean a little more. Week 3, they're almost gone. Week 4, you're rolling, baby, right? They only played one game. There's still cobwebs. There's still questions. A&M, by far, in my opinion, has the upper hand of playing 2 games. Look, do I like bye weeks? Yes, I think they're needed to get prepared. There's no doubt about that. Do I like a bye week after week 1? Absolutely not. Not a good look. That was a terrible decision on Notre Dame's part, and I think that's going to be a big, big, big difference maker.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Again, I like A&M in this one by a touchdown.
All right, Eastern Michigan, an 0-2 Eastern Michigan goes to Lexington to take on a 1-1 Kentucky. Kentucky's favored to win that game by 23.5. Who cares? Yeah, Kentucky's going to win.
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't disagree with that. I would be surprised if they won by that margin. I'd take Eastern Michigan in the points in this one. You just lost what will probably be the closest thing to a heartbreaker this year. Last week against Ole Miss. I don't think Kentucky, pardon the pun, has the horses. I don't think that they've got the jockey at head coach either. I think they'll win, but I don't think it's by 3 scores.
Let me ask you a question before we move on to the last 2 games. All right, who loses their job first? Stoops or Billy Napier?
Napier loses his job first because Florida and that fan base has their football, right? Like they've got that in their blood. Now, Florida has demonstrated over the years, the University of Florida has demonstrated over the years that they can win in football. They can win in basketball. They can win national championships in baseball. They can win in just about anything, like most SEC schools can brag about. Multiple championship lines. Kentucky, they're a basketball school. They love round ball. This other one, they play and they love it when they're good, but when they're not, they're like, well, we're back to being Kentucky again. Moving on. And that's just the attitude. Do I think that Stoops is going to stay in Kentucky after the season? Dear, not if he has an ounce of intelligence. Like, take what you've done and move on to something else. But the only thing that I think initiates Stoops being out of Lexington before Napier is out of Gainesville is personal decision. If Stoops understands that I've done all that I can do here in Kentucky, I'm only hurting myself by staying longer, then he'll leave before Napier. If the boosters plan on keeping Napier.
I agree with you on Napier will be the first. But what I think you and I can also agree on is when they get rid of Napier, if and when they do, it won't be Stoops.
No, Stoops had his shot. He had his shot at the A&M job, and he passed on it. He used that to play Kentucky back and forth, whatever. Bad call.
Yeah, not a good look.
But it's kind of like one of the things that's his go-to in the tool bag is bad decisions. But yeah, you had your chance at a better job and you blew it.
Yeah. Okay, so look, 7:45 kick. SEC Network. A 2-0 Vanderbilt anchor down Commodores take on a number 11 2-0 South Kakalaki in William Bryce Stadium, Columbia, South Carolina, the Columbia, South Carolina. You like how I put the "the"?
I do.
South Carolina is favored to win that game by 5.5 points, over and under 48.5. My opinion on this is I know there's been a lot of trash talking coming from the Vanderbilt program online, social media, people running their mouths. The Fighting Beamers are staying quiet because they know who they are and they know what they're going to do. And South Carolina wins and wins big.
I do not disagree. Again, I'll go to the predictor. 65% South Carolina, 34.9 for Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's off to a good start. That they have shown, we said this in the recap episode earlier this week, they have shown that last year wasn't just a fluke, that they are a different Vanderbilt. This is not your grandpa's Vanderbilt. They are not going to be bottom dwellers under Coach Lee. It's just not going to happen. And if Pavia has anything to say about it, which he will, they're going to have more wins this year. Just not this week in Columbia, pal. I don't believe that the real offense, the complete offense, has shown up for South Carolina yet. Have they shown that they've got some issues on the offensive line that they need to fix? Yeah, but I think they've been playing with that a little bit, moving some guys around, finding where the best fits are in these first two games. And guess what, Vandy? They're 2-0 in doing that. Lenore Sellers is still the man. Even if it came down to mistake after mistake after mistake, Lenore Sellers is not going to allow the Gamecocks to drop this one at home. I think the Gamecocks by 2 scores.
Wow, good call. I think so too. I just think that Carolina is really looking good, and I am never a fan of a team that is running their mouth, or a coach, and I include the coach in that as well, that is running their mouths prior to an upcoming game. That, oh, we're going to go down there and destroy them, and we're going to do this, or we're going to do that. I don't like that kind of mess, and I don't think it's ever really played out well with most people. And, I mean, ask Dan Mullins how that trash talking worked for him every time he had to play Georgia when he was a head coach at Florida. It didn't work out well. Not a good look, Dan. So Shane Beamer, Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin, Kirby Smarts, Brian Kelly, these great coaches, and I would even put Ryan Day in there, they keep their mouth shut. They go do a job that they are now paid to do, and they don't run their mouths. And I just don't think that works out well for them at all.
Yeah.
So, last but not least, 2 weeks ago, I wasn't too worried about this game. I'm a little worried. Thank God it's a day game. A number 6, 2-0 Georgia rolls to Knoxville, Tennessee to take on a number 15 Tennessee that is also 2-0. Georgia is favored to win that game by 3.5 points. The over and under is 49.5. I will leave my comment to the end.
This is an interesting matchup. It is split on the predictor here. Tennessee is actually 51.5% favored to win. Georgia 48.5. I think a lot of that is still early in the betting activity, but then also the fact that it is in Knoxville. That is a difficult place to play, as any SEC venue can arguably be a difficult place to play. Aguilar is having a great start to the season, 535 yards through the air. Stockton's got 417. I don't think that we've seen Georgia's A game yet. I just talked about that with South Carolina. I think that both of them have been bringing forth, obviously, a winning attack, a winning approach to each of their first two games. But I think that they're still trying to work things out. What's the best fit here? What's the best fit there? I think that Georgia is looking at that same thing. I think that's what the 28 points on the board last week against Austin Peay demonstrates. Is it's not a cat playing with its food, but it's also not taking your homework real seriously because you've already got an A in the class. I like the Bulldogs in this game. I do. I think the line is pretty doggone straight. I like the Bulldogs by a touchdown in this game. So I think they're better than 3.5 point favorite in this ball game. I think they win by 7. I think it's close. I think it's a lot of back and forth. I think it's a struggle, but I think it's a struggle because Georgia is going to dictate this game. I think they're going to do it with pace, time of possession, defense, and running the football. Now, my friend, before you get into your breakdown, I will give you the option of knowing what our Uncle Kenny thinks.
Yeah, let's go with Uncle Kenny.
Fresh off the printer, the letter that he sent me via email, folks. Uncle Kenny. Do y'all smell that? It smells a little smoky. Could it be that it's starting to resemble I think just maybe the temperature is starting to rise and signs are pointing to one thing. What is it, you ask? It looks like your Uncle Kenny is starting out on a heater. That's right. A miss on the Longhorn Buckeye matchup, but Uncle Kenny is 3 for 4 on the season, and this week will be no different. We're heading up to that orange-plagued circus called Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, where 100,000 half-wit fans have about 10 teeth between the lot of them. Georgia versus Tennessee, the kind of SEC slugfest that makes a fella like me reach for RCs and moon pies and maybe an antacid or two. This ain't just a game. It's a grudge match, albeit one-sided for much of the last 15 years. Now down in Athens, questions abound about Gunnar Stockton. Born in East Tennessee, he would love nothing more than to hang a home loss on the Vols. Neyland will shake, Rocky Top will blare, and some cousin-marrying fella in the upper deck will be waving a coonskin cap like it's the second coming. Gunnar's got the arm, the poise, and the Georgia G on his helmet. But Tennessee folks don't care about any of that. They just want to rattle him till he looks like a squirrel in traffic. If he can survive the noise, the banjos, and the faint whiff of moonshine drifting over the bleachers, he might just be fine. But did I read that correctly? Did he have to throw the ball 34 times to beat the Governors from Austin Peay? Well, that's not good. Joey Aguilar might not be a household name in the SEC, but the kid from Appalachian State has made a living off turning heads. Last season, he threw for over 3,700 yards and 33 touchdowns, numbers that make half the quarterbacks in the SEC swoon. Now he's staring down Georgia, a defense that treats opposing quarterbacks like chew toys, giving up barely 170 yards passing a game and picking off anything that flutters. Aguilar can sling it, no doubt, averaging nearly 270 yards through the air. But Georgia's secondary has a way of turning stat sheets into obituaries. If Joey can stay upright long enough to find his rhythm, maybe he makes it interesting. If not, he might wish he was back in Boone with his hemp bracelets and patchouli. But it comes down to this. Mike Bobo fumbles play calling worse than a butterfingered fisherman. The problem with Mike Bobo isn't that he doesn't know football. He's forgotten more X's and O's than most of us will ever learn. It's that everybody in the stadium, including the fella selling boiled peanuts in the upper deck, knows what's coming. First down, here comes the dive up the middle. Second down, maybe another dive just to make sure the defense is awake. Third and long, Lord help us all, because there's a bubble screen on the way. And if I had a nickel for every one of those I'd seen, I could retire in Destin. Defenses don't have to guess. They just have to wait. That kind of predictability is like blood in the water to a team like Tennessee. And if Bobo falls into his old habits in Neyland, the Vols will be humming Rocky Top before Georgia even figures out the chains moved the wrong way. The Vols are coming into Neyland this weekend, low on IQ, but very high on hope. That sea of orange is going to be too much for the Dogs, and the Vol defense will be half bear and the other half cat. Wild as a minx. Get ready for Rocky Top. The Dogs are walking directly into a buzzsaw. Also, give me LSU and Texas A&M to make state wins. Okay.
Uncle Kenny. Look, man, I agree with a lot what Uncle Kenny said. I mean, I think it doesn't happen a lot. But I do have a quick question for you before I get into the game. When he talks about drinking an RC Cola and a moon pie, do you believe that there is something else in the glass besides RC Cola and ice?
It depends on which state in the SEC he is in. If you are in Alabama, no, it's just straight RC Cola, and the moon pie is the kicker. If you're in Tennessee or even Kentucky, Tennessee, you're going to be moonshine. Kentucky, you're in bourbon country. You get down into certain parts of Georgia and even South Carolina, there might be a PBR mixed in there.
Maybe so. Here's what I think about the game. It's the largest stadium in the SEC. The noise is going to be loud. Josh Heupel has put together, in my opinion, a very good Tennessee team. A team that I will have to be apologetic again and say I didn't think they would be where they are at today. I thought the Nico was going to really make Tennessee's season not that great. Yes, they beat a Syracuse. Good job. But then they played a chump team to get ready for this Georgia. I believe Tennessee is a better ball club than what I gave them credit going into this season. But here's where I think the difference is going to be. And Uncle Kenny touched on it, right? I think Tennessee's quarterback, Aguilar, has not seen a defense like a Georgia. If you go back and look at that first game last year where Georgia had to play Texas in Austin, Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning, when he got in, they looked scared. I'm not saying they looked scared, but they were rattled. Georgia's defense, that's what they do to quarterbacks. They rattle people. They will mess with you. And I don't think that is any different when it comes to this game. Matter of fact, I would imagine that Kirby Smart's and Schumer's plan is we are going to attack this quarterback. We're going to rattle this guy and mess with him. And I think that's exactly what's going to do. Aguilar has never seen a defense like this. The poor kid is going to be running for his life. He's probably going to have nightmares when this game is over. When, seeing a 6'6", 350-pound lineman, defensive lineman, run as fast as he can, as fast as he does, and just destroying him. That, I think, is what's going to be the difference maker. I think Gunnar Stockton's going to be ready for this game. I think that offense is going to be ready for this game. They may struggle the first drive or two, but just because of the noise. But I think that Georgia's defense is going to be the difference maker in this game. And you heard it here. I think Georgia not only wins, but I think Georgia wins by 2 touchdowns. I think it's going to be that big of a game for Georgia. It's going to be a statement win for the Bulldogs. and I like Georgia a lot in this game.
I'll go back to my pick. I do think Georgia wins this game. I think it's closer. I don't think it's a 2-touchdown victory, and I think there's a reason for that. I don't think it's the lack of ability for Georgia to add another score. I think it's just Georgia's going to dictate this game. Georgia's going to completely control this game. Joey Aguilar has 535 yards through the air this year, 5 passing touchdowns. They put up 45 points against Syracuse. They put up 72 against East Tennessee State. What do both of those schools have in common? I'll give you 2 things. Number 1, they're not in the Southeastern Conference. Number 2, they do not have a big G on the side of their helmet. You are not only entering conference play for the first time in the SEC, Joey, you're going up against the Dogs. You're going up against one of the toughest defenses in the conference, if not the entirety of college football. They are going to be in his face all night long. They will keep Tennessee from having the ball. They will control the clock. They will wear the Volunteers out, just slowly, methodically moving the ball down the field, advancing the chains. Again, like Uncle Kenny says, if Bobo can stop the status quo in his own play calling. You want to call runs on first and second down? Go for it. But don't make it the dive to the left and then the dive to the right. Get a little creative. Maybe your strategy is the same, but a little creative in your methodologies. But I think that Georgia controls this game. I think that Georgia is clearly dominant in this game, but I think it's reflected in time of possession, not in the score. I like Georgia by 1 score.
Yeah, I think you're right. Joey Aguilar has never faced a team a defense like this in his college career. I haven't gone back and looked at every game he's ever played in, but my gut tells me he's not. Kirby Smart arguably is one of the best defensive coaches of all time. He's definitely one that you would put up there against just about anyone. Alabama, you had a Nick Saban defensive-minded guy and a Kirby Smart defensive-minded coordinator together in Alabama. Kirby learned from the best. Kirby put his own spin on it as well. And Alabama ball back then was just, I'm going to punch you in the mouth football. The defense was just unbelievable. And so I agree with you. I think Georgia and that defensive scheme is going to control this game from start to finish. They are going to be in control in this game. And I think that's what will be the difference maker for sure. But look, man, college football, it's for real now. I'm going to use a line from our guy Mario. It's for real. And I'm excited. It's great. I was texting a buddy of mine that is a Tennessee fan. He actually had an opportunity to go to the game this weekend, but he had prior engagements. He couldn't go to Knoxville. I told him to just get a private jet and go up there. He asked if Chicken and the Dog could pay for that, and I told him no. So there's that. But anyway, I think it's a good game.
I think it'll be a great game. I think we're seeing that there are a lot of good games this week, at least in the conference, not so much in the greater top 25 schools that are not affiliated with the best conference in the land. But it's going to be a good week.
For sure. Man, look, I don't have anything else. Chicken, to you?
I'm all crowed out.
All right, guys, look, man, follow us, like us, subscribe to us, share us, tell your friends, tell your neighbors. I say it all the time. Tell your enemies, especially if you don't like the show. Tell your enemies, but email us, make comments. You might make the dog bark. We'll see. All right, love you. Deuces.